And good morning to everyone. I hope by now most of you have well rested and refreshed yourself. Yesterday we discussed many things basically relating to understand the being, particularly the self, I, who I am, how I exist. So, what kind of basis is required to designate a person or an individual? Then thereafter, number of questions were also raised and some answers also offered. And few questions, I think, left without attending it. One topic, as we discussed yesterday, was someone done much injustice to you and how you need to react to those person. So we talk about the Buddhist view and also Gandhian view to separate the action and the actor. The action need to be opposed, non-violently, but actor need to be a subject of love and compassion. I quoted Aradev, and I again realized that the Tibetan matter training literature, there's a very famous 8 verses of matter training literature, in which says, someone have done harm to you from most unexpected person, the person to whom you have helped or you have served, you have benefited a great deal, and you can never expect from such person would do something unacceptable to you. If this kind of happen, then you must consider that person is the greatest teacher to teach you how to practice the loving kindness and the tolerance. You can easily have a tolerance and loving kindness to someone who harms you, which you have not known before, or you have not benefited to that person in previous. But by someone which is most closely related to you, who does this kind of thing, then to keep compassionate mind become more difficult. So therefore, it should be considered as a unparalleled teacher for the mental training. So that is, I think, good idea. Then there was discussion about how to the intelligence of the heart can meet with the intelligence of the head or the brain. The intelligence, the wisdom, which is inherently exists in sentient beings, particularly in human beings. The human species is by nature have a great potential and source of compassionate mind. Right from the birth, the peaceful mind and loving mind to one's own mother and relatives and whosoever comes to contact in infanthood, they would receive them compassionately, lovingly. Then the differences and distance between heart and brain is a later addition. When you grow up, your compassionate mind is not getting sufficient encouragement or consistent support or congenial conditions, then your mind become more and more conditioned from the worldly happenings, then this distance is happening. So this distance can be removed by little bit effort to looking back to oneself, try to understand oneself, and remove the external conditioning and get the original mind back to function. Of course, it is not so easy job, but it is possible. The awareness of the distance, of weakening of the intelligence of heart, then you should be aware of this and mindful of this. Awareness of one's own real situation is, I think, one of the most important mindset a humanity should have. The Buddhist tradition now giving training of mindfulness. Mindfulness means just to remain aware all the time through an unbiased observation, a kind of total observation which need to be practiced in the process, and then you become more evolved or cultivate yourself such observation, then your mind will become more strong and more efficient. And at such time, then the distance between heart and brain can be reduced and perhaps can be completely removed. Then someone raised that cooperation and collaboration are the same, or there is some difference. This is usually when you use that word, what kind of intention you have. Words does not directly related to the many, the connotation. The many and the world are just put together by our thought. and it's a kind of designation by mind. So therefore, the words do not have a unchangeable connotation all the time. So we may use this word sometimes exchangeably, collaboration and cooperation. But in general terms, cooperation means mentally agreement of a persuasion, and in that many people working together with full understanding and agreement to that object. That is called cooperation. And sometimes collaboration may not have mental agreement. People are compelled to do work together. For example, in present days, there are political groups, political parties. Each one of the party member not necessarily agree to the position of the party's stand. But then, for example, in the house or in the parliament, they have to vote, they have to obey the so-called whip. Whether they do agree or do not agree, they vote together according to the party's direction. That's why many times the party members used to raise the vote of conscience should be allowed. So that's a different question. This kind of working together without any mental agreement, acceptance, then that is collaboration alone, not cooperation. So these are not very important, but usage of the word with the thought. So we can use this in many ways. Most of the Indian traditions, the basis on which a person is designated, the 5 aggregates are considered to be necessary. Shortage of one category, then that may not be able to designate as a person or individual or a living being. The form, bodily form, and the feeling. Feeling creates recognition. That recognition and feeling both creates the expression or action, the sanskar. And all these are being come out of a clarity of thing, that means the consciousness. Without consciousness, all the rest 4 are not possible. The rest of 4 are being governed and operated by the 5th element, the consciousness. So when these 5 comes together, which can be designated, which can be put as relatively true as person, as individual. Then we also touch to universality, the pervasiveness, universal responsibility, universal ethics. Actually, majority of the action of sentient beings or the thought of sentient beings, by its own nature, universally applicable. There is no individuality, particularly when we come to the ethics or responsibility. The basic concept of the notion of ethics or good behavior or once answerable to certain responsibilities are come out of something which have entirely connected universally. For example, no killing is one of the non-violence ethics. No killing of any other living creature, that's the ethics. And no killing is not only related to a particular living being which is going to be killed by someone immediately. Why disturbing to a living life is considered to be unethical, because the importance of life is universal. It's not individual. Any living creature, they consider their own life is importance. That importance is not to one life. It is to every life. So therefore, it is the importance is from the viewpoint of universality. Therefore, there cannot be discrimination. If the importance of life is not universal, you can be choosing, you can be differentiate. This life is more important and that life is less important. In that case, the ethics of no killing cannot be pervasive universally. It becomes partial. And then there would be discrimination. You can kill this kind of life, you cannot kill this kind of life. In some of traditions, this kind of theory does exist, but by and large, majority of the spiritual tradition, the importance of life is a universal principle. It cannot be discriminate or choice-sive. So therefore, the things, whether it is universally applicable or selectively applicable, we shall have to look at the basic value system, basic concept on which this idea is built up. So by that way, I think we can decide which are. Similarly, the concept of universal consciousness. Concept of universal consciousness is been argued by many philosophical and religious traditions. And in recent, philosophers also used to talk about universal consciousness or pervasive consciousness. Krishnamurti also used to refer to a consciousness beyond individuality. The Buddhists also talk about when any individual achieves the Buddha nature, then that individual's consciousness is emerged into Buddhahood. And in the Buddhahood there is no individuality, but the source can be searched back to the individualities, but when it reaches to the omissions or the sargyan, then there is only one consciousness. One consciousness means that consciousness is not separable from the rest of the Buddha's consciousness. So this is a little different way of looking to the consciousness. So these things I just sum up the remaining of the yesterday's discussion, and anyone wish to add to these questions, we can do so when we open for the discussion. And basically, the most important question we have in our mind right from the beginning, and also raised in yesterday's discussion, is how to apply the spiritual principles in the human society, particularly to transform the mind of the rulers and decision makers, which can bring a positive change the entire humanity. That's a very big question, and that question was before us right from the beginning. Better we, better world was in this process that to change the world, we need to change ourselves. And in go to detail, better me, better we, and better world. So the terminology, the transformation must be started from oneself. And oneself can bring the transformation to those people who are closely related to oneself. Then through them, we can go at larger scale to entire world. This is one way of looking at it. And the other way of looking at it is Krishnamurti used to say, you are the world. So it is difficult to explain, but he has his own idea. Each one is the world, and each one has his or her own world, and if that world is transformed, then the larger world may also be able to transform. So this question, how to bring a transformation, positive transformation in the world, that is our object of inquiry. And all the series of seminars are aimed for that. And particularly this time, we are coming down to a particular mindset, the love. So this question is our basic question to deal with. But humanity has a short memory and also short desire. We are looking for larger transformation in a short period of time. We are not able to have the courage to continue the process of transforming for hundreds of years continuously, generation to generation. So making 5 years plan, 10 years plan, or one lifespan's plan may not able to see the result, because the present situation is come out of very, very long process of time, long process of change in long time, and which cannot be reversed overnight, over lifetime. So our endeavor shall have to be aimed to remain, continue, and how to hand down to the coming generation, and the coming generation also do the same time, and then at the end there must be positive results would come. So the patience and a mindset which is not in hurry to see the result, and then there is no result, then discouragement takes over. So that is one of our problems. We shall have to think about this also. Gita's teaching, do the work without worry for the result. It has so many different interpretations, but the Buddhist way of understanding is any work is not aiming for any result. Whatever good deeds or bad deeds, they are all aiming for result. But the actor, the doer, should not expect the result must come in my life. I am the doer, so I must have the result during my lifetime. So this is not the way of performing one's responsibility. I have the responsibility to accomplish this work for the benefit of the entire universe, and whether it has result or it does not have result, I am not concerned. The actor has no concern about the result. That doesn't mean the action should not have any result at any time. The result looking for immediate or one's own life is the outcome of a self-interest. So all doers should have a completely free from selfishness or self-interest. And with the same time, loving kindness to all sentient beings, sooner or later, or immediate or later on, whatever effect or result of my action should be positive and beneficial to all sentient beings. I personally do not have any expectation or expectation of result or appreciation, anything. So that kind of selflessness approach appears to be necessary. So these are a few comments of our yesterday's discussion. So today, Tuesday, Interbeing. Interbeing is a reality of interdependentness. Interdependentness is a basic philosophical foundation of all the schools of Buddhist tradition. So the Buddhist considers that all the existence in this universe are not only interrelated, but interdependent. Interrelated and interdependent to different notion. Related is pervasive. Everything, each thing is related with each other. There's nothing exists on this earth which are no relation or no related to the rest of the all existence. Then dependence is not that like pervasive. It is a little cohesive. Something exists on this table. Definitely depend on the table. But the things on this table may be related to something outside the hall. But this is not depending on that. From that is independent, but related. But it is depending on the table, because the table is removed, the things might be fall down. So by this kind of dependency and relatedness makes every being, all the beings, interbeing, interrelated, interdependent. We are not aware small things which we are doing are dependent or related to countless living beings or human beings that we need to clear in our mind. We are not capable of doing anything independently without depending to anyone or anything is impossible. So this principle is need to be perceived clearly, then you will realize you are just an interbeing, not an independent being. In this world, on this planet Earth, the living beings are being born 4 different kinds of birth. The first is born from mother's womb, and the second is born from eggs, and the third is born from heat and moisture or something outside causes, and the fourth is in Tibetan we call it Zuichi, like born. In the English translation, miraculously born. That means without any parent, not through egg, not through heat and mixture, but only the karmic force give you a birth, and that kind of birth is right from the birth. The whole form is completed, not the growth or small child in growth. It borns like a completely matured or grown body form is born. So there are 4 kinds of births. The 3 kinds of birth is commonly known. The 4th kind of birth is mostly in the religious canons. Someone born in the Buddha's Kshetra, where no parental or other causes exist, but they are born immediately. So all these 3 kinds of birth, they depend on various conditions, entirely depend on. Born from womb, father, mother is absolutely required, entirely depend on. Then after born, of course mother, then other relatives, other caretakers, all these we are dependent on them. They are the factors by which a person, a human being, is able to take life and live the life, grow the life. All these are depending on the many other people. Similarly, the born from egg also needs a parent. And the mixture and moisture and heat born insects through plants and through the earth. They also need appropriate conditions to get the birth. So just after getting the birth, there are so many requirements to sustain the life. And these requirements are always coming from different living beings, their effort, or even they are unintentionally doing something that gives the facilities of sustaining the newly born life. Otherwise, particularly our human beings, we born just infant, not able to do anything. If mother does not take care, then we have no way to sustain our life. We have taken a life, but that cannot be sustained without mother's love, compassion, and care. Then I have mentioned that all small things which our need is depend on countless other living beings. We are few people, less than 20, comfortably staying in this beautiful room. And we never aware for this comfortable sitting, how many living beings have gone through a great effort, and then this is become possible. Each one of you coming from different places, long distances, and you come by aeroplane, and how the aeroplane was produced, constructed, how many workers in that, and the material for using that, they are produced by different people, different places, transported from one place to another place. Then it was assembled and sold, and it is put in operation. Then in fly, the pilots and the caretakers, and we are taking tea and food in the aeroplane, or otherwise. Even a cup of tea, which consists of a tea bag, water, milk, sugar, something like that. And a spoon of sugar is come from sugar industry. And the people are growing the sugar cane. And how many laborers and farmers have worked for that sugar cane. And it is cut and is transported to a sugar industry, sugar mill, and the sugar mill have thousands of laborers to process, to make a sugar. And after that it is transported from the sugar mill to the market, and from market we purchase someone, and it comes to the home. And similarly the tea is coming from the tea garden, and thousands of workers in the tea garden. And in order to grow those tea or sugar cane, how many insects and small creatures have been destroyed by kind of chemical. They all have to sacrifice in order to produce this small thing. And the milk comes from cow or someone, and that was grown by someone, and it's milk and then carries to your kitchen. So one cup of tea is a result of several thousand people's effort, great effort. So therefore, the things are not easily, it is not produced by nature itself. The processing of things for the human need is involved large number of living creatures. Basically human beings, and also non-human beings also have contributed and participated. So by this way, in this room, all the small things, the fans and the carpets and the chairs and the walls and the windows and the paints. So how many people have been working so hard and putting so much effort into that. So therefore, the relatedness is very pervasive. And those living creatures involving to this production of our necessaries have their own relativeness to others, to meet their own needs. And by this way, there's endlessly related to each other. And there's some weakness or non-performance take place somewhere that would definitely affects to getting those necessaries in order as we like to. So therefore, we examine all these particulars, all these things, how it came into being. Our necessary, of course, today we are consumer, we do use much things which unnecessarily, but our needs, real needs to sustain our life, there are certain real needs: food, clothes, shelter, health care, this kind of indispensable needs are there. They are varying, not only food, not only clothes. We need so many things, countless things. So all our needs we may list up, and those needs, examine how it came into being, by whose effort, by what kind of means, that will tells you, that will disclose itself how much relatedly or dependently relating to each other have been involved in giving you those necessary articles. So therefore, every time, whatever we are using our needs to satisfy our needs, those unknown contributors, we cannot deny we are not related to them. Because by fulfilling our need, that again relates to those people who are making these commodities. By our use, their need also fulfilled. So therefore, each one are both sides interrelated nature. So that need to be aware. So we look closely to smallest things, a piece of cloth, a piece of bread. How many different things are incorporated into them, and how these are come into being, by how many people or how many living beings or sentient beings have been contributed. So therefore, we must be feel grateful to all these sentient beings, due to whom's effort we are able to sustain and live our present life. So this is how we look. The beings are not only beings, they are interbeings, interrelated beings, interdependent beings. So therefore, whatever I personally, one person, whatever I do, it has a positive or negative effect to very, very large number of people. And indeed, its effect goes universally. So therefore, whatever I do something negative, that is not only harms myself or few people around me. It will harm or it will benefit both sides, whatever positive, negative may be, it goes to entire universe. So we cannot make my actions have effect to this much and it will not go beyond that. That cannot be make a boundary. So it's very difficult. So therefore, we must be aware that how we are interrelated and interdependent. So it is now 11. We shall have our tea break, and thereafter the topic is open to discussion. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. Now we will begin to discussion. Before that, as I mentioned before, in Buddhist canon, when we address to the sentient beings, we used to say the mother sentient beings. All the sentient beings are we consider like mother, because in our relationship, particularly blood relationship, the most sacred and nearest relationship is mother and child. The mother has to take care the child in the womb for 10 months or 9 months. Then thereafter, for several years, till the child become self-supportive or independent, the mother's care is the only way to sustain or survive the person. So all sentient beings are just like mother, due to which the rest of the sentient beings are able to survive and sustain the life. Not only sustain the life, to do something meaningful of a life, that also due to the sentient beings. So the way understanding the sentient beings as mother, one way of interpretation is since there's no beginning of life, we have taken so many countless lives, and during that lives, each sentient being might have one's own mother. So that is one way, and the other way is the all sentient beings all the time like mother, on which we are entirely dependent. So this is how to understand and realize our dependency and our relation with the entire sentient being is important to realize for our every action. Our ethics, our responsibilities are all depend on the realization of our relationship with others. By this way, then not a single individual can be considered as our opponent or enemy. So that is how to cultivate the mind. So thank you. Now it's open to the floor for your comments.
Thank you very much. I got one comment and one question. My comment is about interbeing. There is one concept I like a lot, is the concept of One Health. One Health means human health, environmental health, plus planet health must be seen all together. And the United Nations are dealing with that, One Health. So maybe it's a good way for our countries to develop more this One Health concept. My question is about better me, and especially about the feeling of guilt. Because in Europe, our education is based a lot on guilt. We must obey our parents, we must be kind with our parents, even if our parents are not kind with us. So my question is, how to be free from guilt in order to find our own path, our real path. So it's about this feeling of guilt. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Sure. So, Rinpoche, thank you so much. You've shared with us your reflections this morning on interbeing, and I think we all understand we are interrelated, interdependent, interbeing, and it's sort of actually, it's partially connected to my colleagues here question, because we discussed also this morning that we live in the era of it's all about me. And there was even a great version in French, right, which I can't recall at this moment. And Rinpoche, you outlined, the extent to which we're interconnected with all sentient beings on the planet. But that also means that we are connected to their joy and their suffering. And for me, personally, what I would like to understand, and the guilt comes in here, how much time is what is our duty towards the suffering of others, when we also need to spend some time on ourselves and our family and our community. And again, we're influenced by this era of, if I spend time looking around me, people say, why are you even bothering to do all this extra work? You could just focus on you. That's what my sister says. Just focus on you. Focus on your family. Focus on your friends. That's enough. Build a house. And I try to do what I can, but I live with the guilt of that I should be doing more constantly. And so I don't know if we have an answer to that, but sort of where to start seeking an answer, so that I would like to live without that guilt, or to know that actually I should do more, and I shouldn't listen to the voices of the current day that really emphasize it's all about me, and I should just be focusing all about me. So that's a bit of a rambling question. I'm sorry I didn't have time to formulate it better, but I hope I made my challenge clear.
Thank you.
Good morning, Rinpoche. Thank you very much for sharing on interbeing. My question relates to something that you said about doing the work without worrying about the result. And for me, it's not so much the question about the worrying about the result, it's a question about the time in which it can happen. Because so many of the challenges that we face today feel very urgent and existential. So climate change, or we have war. So I find it difficult to reconcile the idea that some of these problems may take many, many, many years to solve, while they need to be solved. So I don't know. That's my question, is how do you reconcile the two?
you very much for what you're sharing in your teaching. I woke up this morning with the situation in France with the elections, which are putting interdependency out of the picture in some way, politically speaking. And I feel that a lot of this is due to the fear that we as human beings can have compared to looking at others or at different people or people that seem different to us. So my question is, how can we act, or what can we do, or how can we put that fear or make that fear disappear with regard to this interdependency that we have altogether throughout humanity? Thank you.
Thank you, Rinpoche, for this, what you shared about the mother sentient beings. Really, this is maybe for me the most meaningful one of the most meaningful teaching, and also it changes totally the experience that we can have of life if not only we can relate to others as mothers, but we think also we are the mothers of others, and this includes all life forms. But however, this idea of mother sentient beings needs resistance, especially in the West, because the relationship of mother's child is not always successful. So maybe you can elaborate on this and explain how, even though you may not have a mother that was caring for you as a mother should usually care for you, however, you can come to regard other sentient beings as mother sentient beings, and because this also helps to overcome the suffering of not having a caring mother. You see what I mean? I know this is very much Western culture, but for instance, I was faced with that when speaking about mother sentient beings. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Rinpoche, for sharing your very clear views on interbeing. The question I have is, from the way the world is today, it is dominated, as we all know, largely by a philosophy of having.
Philosophy of
Getting more and more material wealth. Our economy, our political economy, our public policy, our corporations are all built with the raison d'etre of having more and more. So success in our world is defined by having how much we have. We reward people who get more and more, as they are the better off people, so to speak. So when we look at the planet and the peril the planet is in, as well as the peril that humanity seems to be in, it seems to me that if we were to be able to adopt and understand and put into practice the philosophy of interbeing, which clearly is the way things are, we don't use that philosophy at all. We use a philosophy of separation. We believe that humans and nature are separate. Totally false notion, but that's the civilization we built. We believe that you and I are totally separate entities, not connected by interbeing, And so we end up with conflict and wars, more than we should. And so we have a lot of talk of this nice phrase called sustainable development. We talk about all the perils of the planet, but we are not moving towards the reality of life, which is interbeing. So my question to you then is how to make that move. Similar to yesterday, but now focused on interbeing. It is clear to me that the separation between humans and nature is a false separation. But we are struggling to get rid of that false notion of separation. Same way between human and human, human and other sentient beings, and so on. So then we think, do we just do some small seminars, small groups, do what I can do? Or do we have to make bigger change by using, as you know, my interest in the area of public policy? How do we use the policy levers to make this change? Because if we can't do that, we will not be able to solve the crises we are in.
Just on this question between human and nature. So I was living in Latin America, and in South America, some roots people, native people, like Shipibo, they don't have the word nature, because we are nature. So that it's interesting, because in the Occidental view, we made a magazine called Nature. So it's crazy because we split human from nature. So that is a detail, but important, and I wanted to share with you.
Thank you.
One thought, since we're supposed to also help answer, right?
Yes.
Just one thought when we were talking about the split, and I don't want to blame everything on religion, but Christianity certainly, at least in the West, hasn't done us any favors, because it's so, the Bible's so, I don't
Go
remember
forth and have
exactly.
dominion over the planet.
Exactly. So this concept that was so strong in the Bible of, you know, human beings, you are here you have the planet, here you have nature, here you have the animals. This is separate from you. I give you this as God too, as your pleasure. I think part of our challenge comes from this, and while it's a very old-fashioned notion, I think Christianity obviously is still very strong, and if you look at the United States now, it's that voice is becoming much stronger in government. So it's going to be, how to deal with that, I don't know, but I think it's part of the issue we need to solve.
One question or comment was raised about the sense of guilt. Sense of guilt for a negative action, immoral action one have committed, and feel sorry for that kind of guilt feeling is considered to be in the category of positive emotion. And this kind of a guilt feeling is necessary to clear up the negative karma which we have. For example, someone has killed some animal and then felt I have done wrong. So this guilt feeling is one component to clear up the negative action. And that guilt feeling should be accompanied a mindset of determination. I will not do the same thing in future. So this two, one guilt feeling of sorry for the act, and then determination, I will not do it again in the future. And in order to clear up the negative action or restore my ethics, I will do some positive action, saving some life or helping some diseased person or something like that, and positive action is accompanied. So that three things will make the clearing up the effect of the unethical act or the negative act. And thereafter, the guilt feeling should not be continued. Guilt feeling is only required for having the determination to not repeat it again. That is only purpose of guilt feeling. So guilt feeling should not be continued for a long time just to disturb one's peace of mind. Of course, whenever remember the negative act, then one should not appreciate or just let it go, should not be there. Whenever one's negative action is remembered, and a kind of guilt feeling should also be accompanied, and then determinations are also accompanied. And once one have clarified the negative act, then there's no need of guilt feeling. And one can think that this was a kind of remedy or teacher for not doing this kind of things, this kind of negative things in future, or repeating again. So, by this way, guilt feeling should have a short spell of time, and then we should come out of this guilt feeling. Perpetuating guilt feeling is not required and also not healthy. So that shall have to be understood. This is a Buddhist approach. In the Buddhist canon, how to confess or how to clarify a negative karma, negative act. The first is taking refuge, and the second is have a regretness. Regretness and guilt feeling is not 100% same, but what required is regretness. And then a promise, determination not to repeat that act in the future, and then do some positive karma. So by this, 3-4 combinations can absolutely clarify the effect of negative act. Then someone has commented that how much we need to spend time for performing our responsibilities to the entire sentient being or to the universe. The Buddhist way of thinking, we cannot divide a kind of time schedule. This much time is to be spent for service to the others, and this much time should be spent for one's own requirements. If you have a sense of oneness with the entire universe, with the entire sentient beings and the nature, then your entire time is to be utilized for the benefit or for the service of the others, the sentient being, the non-sentient nature. So the entire time shall have to be spent. And in that way, how I will fulfill my own things, a maintenance of one's health, relation with one's family, to work for the requirement of family, all these are indirectly required for the service of the universe as well. Unless you look after your health and your well-being, you will not be able to do your responsibility to the nature and to the rest of the sentient beings. And it is just a way of motivation. I am not maintaining my health for my own pleasure or for my own benefit. I should have a good health so that I can work for the entire universe. So by this kind of motivation, whatever you do, even you sleep, before going to sleep, you should have the sense that I must sleep 8 hours or 10 hours in order to have a very healthy body the next morning, so that I can serve my family. Serving to universe shall have to be channelized through someone. We cannot reach entire universe by ourselves. So our family members, our child, our elders, our neighbors, animals around us, the small insects around us, represents the entire sentient being. And we shall have to work for the entire sentient being through them. They are the representations. Because we can work only wherever we have the capacity to reach. We cannot go beyond our capacity. At the same time, we should have an understanding and motivation. I am serving this individual or this animal. I am helping or I am serving this individual because this is one of the member of the entire sentient being, one of the part of the entire universe. So I do good for this, and through this I can serve the entire universe. For example, some sickness comes to our body, it may not be pervasive to the entire body. You may hurt your finger, and getting treatment to the finger is not only for the finger. Through that finger, you are restoring the entire health of your body. So similarly, whatever you do for any individual, you should not have any selfish motivation. This person or she is my relative, my friend. Therefore, I should benefit, I should do something for him. If you put my before the work, then the entire work becomes selfish nature, and you are not able to reach the entire. You should think the other is not different from the entire sentient being, the body of entire sentient being, or the universe. This person is a part of the universe, and I do my service to entire universe through this agent, through this channel. So by this kind of mindset, the value of entire your action will be quite different. So if this kind of mindset you are able to cultivate, then you need not find any time, or you should not consider any time which is using for yourself. Using for yourself, you are also a part of the universe. And serving yourself is also not doing by selfish motivation, then it becomes a service to the entire universe. And for this, we will come it in the next day also. Actually, the differentiation between self and other to a different part, this kind of mindset, grasping on this kind of a notion, shall have to be removed in order to reach to the oneness or equality of the entire universe. When you have a mindset of equality of the entire universe, then the feeling of suffering of others and the feeling of suffering of one, there will be no division. Whatever suffering experienced by other, you will experience by yourself as your own suffering. By this way, then removing of the other suffering is also removing of your own suffering, also removing of the entire universe, a part of the entire universe. So, this kind of mindset shall have to be cultivated. Oneness of entire thing. Here, oneness does not mean there's no diversity. One of my monastic friends, now he passed away, have written, it is an interpretation of Buddhist philosophy, but in the Western way of looking at it, that called unity in duality. Unity in duality. Unity can only be seen in the duality. If there's no duality, no diversity, then the concept of unity cannot be exist. Unity means something unite. Unite means something different, which can come together, and without any conflict, it can be remain together. So that is unity. So unity in duality as an interpretation of the interdependent arising. So that is a different way of interpreting the Buddhist concept into a modern Western language. Then this is a quite a relevant question. If we are not caring for result, just to care for the action, then the urgencies such as climate change and global warming, we do something to prevent them, and not looking for immediate result, then there will be no sense of doing the things. In a way, it is correct. But it is again a mindset, how to see the things from one's own mind. A house is on fire, and we need to put the fire extinguished, and water or whatever sense, whatever, we have to immediately extinguish the fire to save the house. And the immediate result must be the extinguishing the fire. And you are not hoping extinguishing the fire as a result, or doing the work that appears to be no sense. We are not talking in that way. To remove the fire of house, one shall have to do things urgently, and at that moment, whether I will be able to put this fire extinguished, or I will not able to do that, but I must do whatever effort I can make. So at that time, a kind of judgment, whether I will be able to achieve the result or not, this mindset comes before the action. Then if you see the fire so powerful and I may not be able to achieve the result, then you might be setting back. So before doing the work, whether the result is achievable or not achievable, my responsibility is to make efforts to try. So therefore we know the urgency of the things which we are facing, and also we hope for immediate result as well. But our principal motivation should not be achieving the result immediately. Whether the result is achievable or not achievable, my responsibility is to try to achieve it. So by this kind of mindset, we shall have to, even whatever is situation is there, I have to try. For example, the medical doctors, even the patient is almost not able to cure, but they will not give up their treatment until the patient is completely dead. So by seeing the patient may not be able to survive, then the effort to saving that patient is giving up. That will not be an approach by a medical doctor. Then some comment was also referring to the fear. fear is one of the very powerful emotion which prevents human individuals from performing their universal responsibility. And fearlessness is one of the basic source of performing positive actions. So therefore, we should be able to achieve a mindset free from any fear. Not only fear, also doubt, undecisiveness and doubt and fear that we shall have to avoid. But the question comes, fear is a natural phenomenon. There is some challenge or some mishappening which might harm myself, and from that possibility the fear comes automatically. But any challenge to one's well-being or life, those challenges are into two categories. One category is avoidable, the other category is not avoidable. Avoidable cause of fear, then we shall have to find out how to avoid the source of fear, the challenge or the danger, whatever is causing you the fear. And the other, which are unavoidable, then there is no use of entertaining fear or doubt, because it is unavoidable. Every person who have taken birth as human being, sooner or later shall have to be die. Therefore, to fear to death is absolutely useless, because it is unavoidable, it will come. And then why we should fear? And we know it right from the beginning. I am a human individual taking birth. I may live 100 years or more, or I may die tomorrow or just now. It's uncertain. And whenever it comes, it is unavoidable. And at the same time, untimely death, before exhausting our lifespan due to certain external disturbance or conditions, that may cause our untimely death. And for that also, the fear is not the remedy. We shall have to have wisdom, what kind of things can cause untimely death. Taking unfavorable food or not caring the health and doing something which is harmful to well-being. So these things are, we should know and we should avoid, and fear is not the remedy. As a matter of fact, fear doesn't give you any benefit. On the contrary, it may cause loss of very great opportunities, great chances to do something very good for others, for oneself, or for the universe. So, therefore, we shall have to be fearlessness. Fearlessness can achieved, as I mentioned before, this is Shantideva's suggestion that there's remedy, no need to fear, no remedy, no use to fear. So this is one thing. And the other thing is self-confidence. Any challenge which are avoidable, which are able to face squarely, then we shall have to think about how to face that challenge, that cause of fear. And for that we can make all perfect actions to avoid that cause of fear. And then there's no remedy, then accept that challenge. And acceptance is also need a great courage and determination that we shall have to be cultivate. Then the comment of the modern way of thinking, the separation between nature and living beings, or nature and humanity. This attitude or this wrong notion of a separation, as we discussed at length this morning, the interrelatedness and interdependence, by this way, the nature and the living beings always remain interrelated and interdependent. So therefore it cannot be completely separated. The fact is that each living being is depend on a form, a body. Without body, no individual can exist. It may be subtle body, or it may be gross body. Or it is also, gross body also might have different sizes, small insects and big elephants. So each one individual carries big body or small body. But whatever it may be, as long as there is a body, the body must be created by a combination of 4 basic elements. 4 or 5 basic elements is unavoidable, absolutely necessary to create a form, a body. Anyone is lacking, that body cannot exist. The earth, the gross nature, the wind, the moving nature, the energy, and the warmth keep things in proper way, and the water, the liquid, which is causing the integration of the other three things. And the fifth, the space. Without space, nothing can exist. So these 5 elements are absolutely unavoidable, necessary to have a form. But one thing we should understand is this 4 elements are by nature, they are opposite. The fire and the water in gross level cannot go together. The water will disturb the fire, or the fire will destroy the water, whichever is more powerful. And the wind and the earth is also, one is stable, the other is moving. And all these elements in gross level cannot put together. But in appropriate quantity and a way of coming together, that forms a body. Our human body, quite gross thing, which has liquid, which has the substantive muscles and bones, and which have the warmth, and which have the moving force, the breath. All these 4 harmoniously come together and helping each other, sustaining each other. It becomes supplementary to each other. And when disease comes, the disease is a disbalance of these 4 elements. Anytime these 4 elements are not proportionately, harmoniously coming together, then some kind of disease is caused. So, therefore, in the nature, in the living being, the 4 elements which construct the body is the part of the universal 4 elements. They are not inseparable. It's very clear. When consciousness goes out of this body, and this body will disintegrate, the warmth goes back to the fire, and the growth goes back to the earth. The liquid automatically goes back to the liquid. And all are this continuum of these substances are there, but it is not working as body to a consciousness. So therefore, our inseparable from the nature is not need to prove by argument. It is obvious, we can see. But there's different approach in the philosophical level, in the conceptual level. As we discussed a little bit in this morning, the cooperation and collaboration, cooperation and struggling, conflict. Materialistic way of thinking in the West, there are Marxist idea of dialectical materialism. In the dialectical materialism, they think that all these elements are opposite of each other. And their conflict and fighting is the cause of transformation. A seed has the potential to sprout, but it needs some other conditions. The earth, the liquid, and the warmth, they comes together, and then the seed will become a sprout, and then it will become a plant and a tree. So the way of looking to this process, the ancient Indian tradition and the Marxist people are just opposite. The ancient Indian tradition, including Buddhism, they think it is a cooperation. The warmth and the earth and the liquid and the fertilizer, all this comes together and they are working harmoniously, and by this way they transform the seed into sprout and plant. It is a result of cooperation of all these elements. And Marxists think that this is the conflict of these four elements, and by that conflict they have become struggling with each other, and they destroy the seed. They destroy the seed and it is transformed into the plant, into sprout. So the way of looking at them as a cooperation or as a conflict or struggling, this is only human mental projection, not on the basis of reality. So by that way, they think that conflict of class and struggle of class can remove the class from the humanity. A classless society can be set up by class struggle. And the ancient Indian thought says the cooperation of class, loving kindness with each other can remove the differences between classes, and a classless society can be set up. So this is just only verbal explanation and way of looking. In reality, logically, we think the cooperation is more important than the struggle. Because cooperation means a perfect, proportionate coming together. When the process of seed to transform me into plant, the proportion of heat, warmth, liquid, wind, earth, all this shall have to be in perfect combination and proportion. If there is more liquid, then plant is not possible. More heat, also not possible. Very perfect proportion. That proportion cannot be a human creation. It also the perfection of the combination and proportion is decided by nature itself. So nature has the potential, the capacity to make a proportionate combination, and that proportionate combination does not make any struggle, any fighting. They are helping each other, they are coming together, and which can create a new transformation and new creation. grossly we can understand what does mean nature. Nature means a thing which are not intentionally made by any living creature, sentient being, or basically human being. Something which can be newly produced by human effort, that might be come from the nature, but it is not a nature. It is creation of a nature, but its composition is a part of nature, but itself is not a nature. Not nature means artificial. Here artificial means man-made or sentient beings made. So by this way we have to look the things in that way. Having said that, it becomes very clear that all the possibilities of a transformed universe, which have all harmonious and free from conflict and violence, this potential exists in the nature and in the living beings. Now living beings are more responsible for disturbing this harmonious existence, conflict-free existence. The humanity have more responsible for disturbing the natural way of evolution. Natural way of evolution is tried to disturb by the so-called development and interfere in the way of natural evolution. We were in great hurry to see some growth, and that always trying to interfere in the natural way of growth. And by that way, the growth becomes unsustainable because it is not inherently exist in the nature or the natural forces. So this is our problem in this 21st century postmodern civilization. Then the basic question, as we discussed before and raised again today, is how to remove or reduce the human greed, particularly the greed of having more. That is the real cause of all problems of the universe as today. I briefly mentioned yesterday that human negative emotion, the greed, the attachment, has been immensely exploited through various ways in the process of making economic profit from unreasonable means. And the humanity forget what is their need. And not knowing the need, only to accumulate or to possess more and more things is the real cause of all challenges and conflicts and violences, fighting is caused. That's very clear. And to remove this kind of mindset, particularly from the mind of decision makers, public policy makers, seems to be extremely difficult. So therefore we shall have to find out more appropriate methods. Because this crisis of having more, forgetting all the needs, is being today apparently the mainstream of the human behavior. The mainstream, the so-called mainstream, is very powerful, and particularly in the time of globalized time. The globalization is basically globalization of human greed. Only the basic source is human greed, which make the economic globalization or political globalization. Now it go for the cultural globalization and language globalization. Everything become uniformity and something like that. So in this way, how we shall have to face these great challenges which are threatening the sustainability of the living creature on this small planet Earth. There's a big question and urgent question. We shall have to think a long-term strategy, and also particularly for the immediate next coming generation. They are the more sufferer in this juncture. By scientific findings, most of the educated people on this earth know the challenges of global warming and climate change and other things. They know very well. But unfortunately, there's a mindset that during my life there may not be any big disaster. Few years back, I was discussing with one of my friends in America, and we talk about the dangers which are threatening us in the immediate future. Then finally, he said that anyhow, during our lifetime, there may not be great disasters. So this is very, what I should say, inhumane way of thinking. If my lifetime goes well, then why should I care for the future? That is very near to the approach of the Charvak. The Charvak people in the ancient times, you should borrow money from others and drink good things, eat and drink something, and no worry for the next life. So this kind of approach is very unfortunate. So how we will be able to bring a transformation in the mind of the policymakers and the rulers. But at this moment, it appears to be the human greed shamelessly exhibiting the greed and immediate achievement of more wealth and more power is very forcefully operating in the mind. During my lifetime, 40, 30 years before, people are not that aggressive for having more wealth or having more power. And the political system was also the rulers, the power holders or the opposition, they are all a kind of ideological and principal differences. They do not consider each other as opponents or enemies. Now today, their situation is much worsened. Political differences have become personal differences and considering each other as enemies and try to eliminate entirely. So that kind of mindset, how to change, how to bring about, we shall have to wait for something unbearable disasters which may wake up the humanity, or there would be some miracle which might come to change the mind of the policymakers. But anyhow, this is one situation. Whether we are able to bring a positive change immediately or not able to bring a change immediately, we are the believers of the truth and equality. We should not lose our hope and we should not give up our effort. And for that, we have to improve our own way of life, to be truthful all the time, ins and outs, live with our real needs and give up all kind of artificial needs which are not our real needs. And we should restore our own wisdom of determining what is my need and what is my greed, to differentiate between need and greed. And always take in the side of truth and justice and morality. And whatever is immoral, injustice, and untruth, violence, directly or indirectly, we should avoid this kind of action and also stand up to oppose them. To oppose them does not mean we need to go out and fight with them. We shall have to able to tell them it is wrong, whether the doers are highly respected people or highly placed authorities or a poor people, indiscriminately, whosoever is doing wrong, we shall have to be able to tell it is wrong. And to lead a meaningful and right way of living, at the same time able to oppose the wrong things with courage and determination, and then also look how we can bring some transformation in the minds of the people who are effective in the policy making and in the running the countries and the society, that we shall have to think very seriously. Of course, I don't have any ready-made suggestion to offer to you, but we shall have to collectively, jointly think about it. And this process is very clear: to make better me, and then to make better we, and thereafter to look for how to build up a better world. It may become after 1,000 years, doesn't matter. It might come after a few years, well and good, but without having any anxiety to get immediate result or a result which benefits oneself, this kind of selfish way of thinking should be give up, and only what are the responsibility which we are ought to do. Sorry, I think time is up. So thank you for your attention. We shall stop here. See you tomorrow.